This is my overview of a Rubrik to Rubrik replication scenario using WAN-M to emulate SATCOM, or we'll do some DSL, we'll do some T1, some really restricted and restrictive links. For the purposes of this lab, I have my cluster. It's a little creatively named, but it does the job. So I've got a Rubrik virtual appliance, and my WAN-M system. I can see that I have my WAN-M system up and functioning. Things are obviously working. We're getting, some packet errors. We're getting some retransmit errors. We are, I've got some pretty heavy delays in here. So things are working exactly as I would hope they are. It's a pretty small pipe at this point. What I can see in my system over here, so I can see that I was able to set up a replication point. So I can see that I have my replication. When I go from Rubrik 1 to Rubrik 2, I don't have a lot of bandwidth. I do have replication configured for functionality though. So for content, I have a small lab here at my house. I have pulled up some data out of my NAS. So I've got a couple of VMs here in my bronze policy. I've got my Ubuntu, which I'm running off of right now. That's been backed up. I have a Toffee VM. I played around with that for a little while. So it's there for some content as well. And then I have my work laptop. So that's my work laptop. That's about 400 gig of data right there. And then a couple of NAS shares. That totals up to another, 100 or probably about 50 gigs or so. A lot of those are zip files though that are cached on my NAS box. So we'll go ahead and we'll edit this policy. So now that we've established that I have connectivity, what I've backed up, and what I'll be replicating, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to set replication up, and we're going to get it started. So we're going to say my replication target is my remote Rubrik. I'm going to do 1 year, 3 days, and I'm going to say apply to existing snapshots. So I'm going to immediately start pushing over that wire these bronze, everything within this particular SLA. So I'm going to go ahead and click update here. Now we want to see what's replicating. So we go back to replication targets. We can see I am replicating one SLA domain with 6 objects, and nothing has been sent yet. So we're just kind of waiting. So I'm going to pause the video and I will start it back up when data starts actually replicating. That can take up to a couple of minutes for things to start flowing. And we've got a successful replication of one of these virtual machines. We've got current replication of probably what is the most data, which is my Windows machine, which is quite a bit. To be honest, it is currently sitting at 223 gigs of consumed space. So it's quite a bit of data to be sending over that wire. So it's going to take a little while. So let's go look at this secondary Rubrik, and we can do we'll do a refresh here. And we can see it's got some work that it's been doing. It's not a lot, but it's definitely been doing some stuff. And then we can come and look at replication targets as well here. We're not actually replicating anything to, but it's received so far 5.2 megabytes of data, which is not a lot for that Toffee VM. Granted, there's not a lot of that Toffee VM there. So now we're replicating Ubuntu. You can see that is currently sitting at 1%. Like I said, this is going to take a long time over that very latent link. We know things are working. We are seeing successful replications. We are seeing successful conversations here. So let's change the rules a little bit let's take this and we'll make this 5. We'll drop the packet reordering. I think that's a little excessive. And then we'll actually take the jitter and we'll leave the jitter about where it's at, and we'll up it a little bit. So we'll up it to 850, which is really, and we're going to lower this to 45. And we're going to go ahead and apply that. And then we're going to check our rules again. So we've still got a 1.5 meg upload speed. And we've got a 1.5 meg upload speed on the side of the replication target, a download speed of 8 meg, and we're off to the races, right? So, you know, we're running pretty tight here. You can see again that the Ubuntu system is still replicating. Things are still working as they're supposed to. We can come back and we can look at replication targets. We can get an idea of how much traffic is running. So it's again not a lot. And we'll go ahead and open this up here in just a minute. So we've got actually an outgoing. Oh, I've got this backwards. Okay, so that's interesting. So I didn't realize that it would be backwards. So we'll reset this and apply settings, and we'll refresh our status. So we have no rules now. So things should open up quite a bit here in a minute. And we should be able to see that things are screaming because this is a 10 gig connection. So in a few minutes here, this is going to figure out that, hey, I don't have any restrictions, and things are just going to fly in terms of connectivity. So, and then we'll go through and we'll do some basic testing. So basic mode has a number of configurations. I'm really not going to get into like the kilobits per second. I don't feel that that is an accurate representation, but we'll do a T1 connection, we'll do a T2 connection, and then we'll do a Cat3 connection, and we'll see where things go from there, and just kind of test that, and then we'll close out. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for a minute. But we can now see on the remote rubric, so the archive target or the replication target, we see we have an incoming bit rate of 61.8 megabits per second. We can see our outgoing has jumped up to about the same level. We really don't have much in the way of incoming traffic, but we do see that I've added a couple more, another SLA domain and a few more objects as targets. So we can come back and we can look at our activity log. We can say, we'll just filter by type. We will do replication. So we can still see things are going. We've made a significant jump. So we went from very low percentages with Ubuntu. Now we're at 16. Now we've gone from 3 to 9% just in the matter of, to be honest, it was a couple of minutes, but it's a couple hundred gigs of data. It's a lot. There are no snapshots at the remote site. So it's doing we're replicating the full data set of what's on the brick right now. And just so you know, so everything that I took was backed up today. And the full data set for everything that was backed up today currently sits at 321.4 gigs. So that's quite a bit of growth. And we'll apply those settings. And for a delay, we'll do, so from Omaha, Nebraska to Hawaii is about 65 milliseconds. So we'll do about 75, just because. So we'll go ahead and apply that. We'll come back and we'll still see that replication is still functioning. We still have our replication jobs occurring. Everything is working as intended and as it's supposed to. So we've got some pretty strong case here for replication working over some pretty crappy links. We'll go back. We'll go ahead and reset this of 4. We'll do a correlation of about 15 again. We'll do a packet loss of a little bit less. So we'll do We'll do a 2% packet loss. We'll do a 5% correlation on that. So not a lot of packet loss, but it's there. For retransmits or duplications, we'll do 1% with a 10% correlation, and we'll call it at that. So we'll go ahead and apply this setting, and we'll check our current status. Got a couple of those bad boys open now. We can see our rules. We can see packets. We've dropped 5 packets of about 110,000 bytes sent, or 1,500 packets sent. So five packets, 1,500. That's a fair number. I mean, we can see the numbers are changing here. So we do see that the rules are in effect. If we come back, we can see that everything is still working. Our replication is still functioning. We are working. So replication really does work well with Rubrik over very poor connections. And to be honest, what we can actually do is we can come over to network throttling in the Rubrik system, and we can actually go and we can throttle our replication even farther. So like, let's say we want to throttle it to half of that connection. So we'll do 0.8 because that's the lowest they'll let us go. So we'll do 0.8 over that bond. So we're leaving roughly half, which is a good number. It's a fair number. I feel that is fair. It's not a lot, but it works, and it's fair to the users. So, and then we can also do replication scheduling and things like that as well. So you can come to schedule override. You can say during certain times of the day, between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 and 7 in the morning, it can do its replication. So it's you can set up rules to make sure that the bandwidth changes between certain time periods to allot for increased user traffic, so you don't get your users screaming like, hey, you're eating up all my bandwidth. That's not going to happen. So really, we'll come back now and we'll look again for our replication activity here in our activity log. We can see that it's still occurring. It's taking longer, but it's still happening. It takes a long time for things to go over a very small pipe. So that is something that you have to learn to be patient with when you're doing an initial seed like this over that teeny tiny pipe. But you do have the ability to run a Rubrik replication over a very, very small pipe. So again, we kind of did a simulated SATCOM link, again, from my time as a WinT operator to start with. We've done some other connectivity links. It does work, and it does work surprisingly well. We're able to function. It's not what I would call ideal, but it does work. So ideal is obviously, you got a gig symmetrical or 10 gig symmetrical. That would be what we would all like to have, and I'll consider ideal. But it does work for those very remote conditions to get data to remote sites, or to back data up from remote sites. So you can do this in a very limited capacity and still function. Rules are applied, and things are still working. Again, this would take literally forever to seed data. So especially when you're dealing with terabytes of data. So you really want to do your initial seed locally speaking, and then go send that data out. You do not really want to have to do this from a remote perspective if you can avoid it over a pipe this teeny tiny. Again, not to say that it can't be done. It just, wouldn't be the most pleasant experience in the world. We'll just take that down to 750, an ideal solution, in terms of throughput speed. But it does work. So that's the key thing. Functionality works. It does what you're asking for, even over those poor, legacy DSL links that we were using back in 2001, and we were so proud of, or 1999 we were so proud of. It works over those SATCOM connections that are like a miracle when you're deployed out in the field, or you're fighting a fire, or a forest fire out in the field, or whatever you're doing. If you're an oil worker out in the field, it will do what you need it to do to get that data back home, or to get that data to the remote site and do a restore, and to send a data set out to a remote site. So, and again, you need to look for that kind of functionality. You need to be looking for Rubrik's virtual appliances that are more robust than just their Edge system. I did some testing with Edge, just to show that the functionality does what they say it does. It does work over those teeny tiny little links, and we are able to continue to work and continue to function over those little bitty links, and see. You can see things are still chugging. We've been going for quite a while. Our rule is still in place, even with a full second of delay here. It's amazing. That is some pretty wild and poor specs there from a latency perspective. I'm not sure how far you have to go to get a full second of delay across the world, but on a physical pipe. But over a SATCOM connection on a cloudy day for a a very high Earth orbit satellite, wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility. So again, this has been a video brought to you by SD3IT. We are a Rubrik reseller. If you are interested in Rubrik, look us up, sd3it.com.